Hello everyone, Jimmy is with you, and today we have another selection of stories. I hope you are ready to hear them. What are we waiting for? Let's get started. First story today from the user, Chimney. Let's listen. I 30 Bon have been married to my wife 29F for 2 years, and we have known each other for 6. A few weeks ago, we had an argument, and during our disagreement, she told me that I am replaceable. After our argument, she went out with her friends. I've been dealing with some health problems for a while, and the argument stressed me out, leaving me nervous and unwell. I was alone in the house and decided to call the paramedics because I felt that something was really wrong. To sum up, I suffered a heart attack. In the hospital, they tried to reach my wife, but she didn't respond, likely still upset from our argument. She called later, after coming home, when she found out that I'm not there. After learning of my condition, she came to see me and stayed with me the entire time, constantly crying and holding my hands. After being sent home, she did everything so I could recover faster. However, despite her efforts, I couldn't stop thinking about how she had told me that I'm replaceable. I constantly think about it. I want to confront her about it, but I don't think I'm ready. I'm trying to understand why context matters. In what way or situation is it acceptable to call your partner replaceable? The audacity to even say something like that is beyond me. I will answer some things here. We have no children. I have genetic health problems. External factors also contributed to my problems. I have higher salary than her, so I mostly pay the bills or buy things for our home. I mostly cook and clean. She does it to but mostly me. It's not 50-50, more like 60-40. She isn't actively trying to kill me. I hope so. At least I don't know if she has a buddy. Let's also address the elephant in the room. We had argument about our house, some issues with it. After that, we also discussed our priorities, careers, and intimacy. At one point, discussion was replaced by her venting and saying things not even related to original discussion. I had no issues with her ranting about things until she told me that I'm replaceable. That was the end of conversation. I no longer wanted to talk. She finds my silence terrifying, but she didn't stay in the house for long after argument. I don't know when she came home. I woke up in the hospital and she was there. She kept crying and holding my hands. She didn't speak much, she couldn't. On the side note, some people in this comment section have some issues themselves, like some of the comments are just wild, horrifying. Author update the story. I've decided to separate for a month. We will go to a counselor and speak maybe 1 to 2 times a week. If she cares about me, she will accept it and do everything she can to improve our relationship and marriage. If she starts playing around, going out on dates, or if I suspect her of cheating, I will end it. There won't be any forgiveness or second chances. I will make an update post sometime in the future. So many of you reached out and offered support and advice. I think the least I can do is provide you with the update. Thank you all very much. Author update the story in the second time. As promised, here's an update on my situation. I won't go into much detail, just the most important things. Physically, I'm doing great. I've started working out again, although at a slower pace than before. With time, it will get better. Separation really helped me a lot. Firstly, I might sound selfish, but I only worried about myself. So I did everything for myself. At first, it was a different feeling. I felt alone for the first time in a really long time, and I needed a few days to get used to it. After I got used to it, it was actually quite nice. I got to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I bought myself a lot of things, redecorated a bit, changed some old things, and honestly, I liked it. There was no stress, no arguments, no problems. It was peaceful and quiet. I also got myself a cat, and the two of us get along really well. I spoke to my wife on a weekly basis. We also went to a counselor, which really changed a lot of things. Whenever we went there, I laid all cards on the table. I was really honest, maybe too honest, and I said a lot of things that had accumulated over time. Every annoyance, issue, pretty much everything I thought could be way better. My wife took the separation really hard. It was really bad. For the first few days, she was fine, or she pretended to be. But as time progressed, it was clear she wasn't doing well. What I did was, whenever we went to a counselor, I focused only on trying to figure out my marriage and issues with it. But as soon as I left the counselor, I checked out. Like a switch, I didn't want to bring any of it home and disturb my peace. My wife also started individual therapy for her own mental health and issues that have been present for some time. I asked her if she cheated on me, and honestly, I expected some outburst of rage or yelling, but there wasn't any of it. She was really sweet and told me no, and that she understands why I might think that, and she offered her phone and her social media accounts for me to check. For some reason, I decided to be a dick, and I told her that maybe she deleted and covered her tracks. She has no proof of anything. Again, no yelling or anything, just a really sad look in her eyes. I realized that I went too far, and I apologized. Time passed, and I decided to let it go. So I told her that I forgive her and that I will give her another chance. Honestly, I wanted some form of revenge, but while revenge might be sweet, everything after it is bitter. I also told her that I won't forget her words. Anyway, she came back to my house, and everything changed. No longer am I doing most of the stuff. She now works just as hard, maybe even more than me, and she doesn't allow me to do certain things, much to my annoyance. We will continue going to a counselor for a little bit longer, and she is still going to her individual therapy. While I liked being alone, I truly missed her. I missed her hair, her smile, her eyes, and now I find myself looking at her and paying attention to everything she does. I guess separation made us appreciate each other way more than before. Maybe we took each other for granted, and we didn't value each other until we split. I think we fell in love again. I can't describe it, but each hug, each touch feels different, like it radiates with sincerity and love. As for the future, I'm planning a trip in secret as a surprise, so we can go out of town for a few days, just the two of us. Time alone really helped me relax and not worry about unimportant things. I focused on myself and what I want my marriage to be, and my life. So now I'm going to work towards that. We really learned to communicate much better than before. We became much more open towards each other, more vulnerable. I think it will help us going forward. I guess after all, it turns out that I'm not so easily replaceable. What I think about this story, real relationships are very complex and have so much backstory. In these posts, we only get a small snippet of one side of the story. So I think it's okay for OOP to not include it. Boiling everything down makes it easy for people to judge it in black and white. I'm glad they had a good outcome, and their relationship is repairing. Let's hear what comments there were from users and what the author replied to them. My husband once said to me, "Wives are replaceable, mothers are not. Mom will always win." Within the year, our 9-year marriage collapsed. The context was finding out how deeply involved his mother was in our marriage, arguments, decisions, etc. We were not arguing, but having a discussion about how it wasn't right to basically have a third person in the marriage, that it was between the two of us. The way I found out was during a discussion about investments we had made. I got up from the table we were talking at and found his phone on the counter with Mom showing on screen. He'd called her and had her listen in to our discussion, so he could take it to her after we were done. I disconnected the call without comment, and she called back immediately. He vehemently disagreed that it wasn't right, and made that statement to me, basically stating that it was he and his mom against me, and I'd always lose. While she was still on the phone, listening in. It was like a gut punch. It opened my eyes to a lot of little things that eventually led to filing for divorce. He was stunned. His mom called me immediately and said, "You can't do that." Well, yes I can, and did. As a petty move, I served his mother the divorce papers at the same time, so she could be involved in the divorce. Lol. $50 well spent in my opinion. She came to our hearing and was so vocal about what she thought was right or wrong, that the judge ordered her out of the courtroom. Lol. He's her full-time problem now. They've been living together since the separation, and she's miserable about it. They deserve each other. Jesus, sounds like a giant mama's boy. Nothing wrong with being close to parent or family. But this is some codependency dump. I'm surprised you never saw any signs early in the relationship. The second story from the user Large Knowledge, let's listen. I found out my wife was cheating on me emotionally last week. I found it through a notification when she was in the shower. We are both 33 and married for 6 years. In my eyes, everything was good. Funny how one can hide their betrayal without other party noticing. I confronted her right away and told her to open the phone to show me the messages. She refused first, but gave up after I told we are getting a divorce. The texts were not that old, and there were not many. It was obvious most of the texts were deleted. I asked her questions about the affair: why, who, where, how. I will not go into details, as I want to stay anonymous, but I was trickle-truthed in the end. She got caught and trickle-truthed me. I do not believe her and what she said about the extent they went. At the beginning of our relationship, I made it very clear that cheating in any form is a relationship ender. I told her to get a lawyer because we are getting divorced. She asked for marriage counseling, promised to change and even make her life completely dependent on me, leave the job, not leave the house, and give me all of her digital devices. I told her where marriage counseling would help was before she decided to have an affair. We could go to marriage counseling and solve the problem there by talking whichever problem she had. Instead, she went on to have an emotional affair and made sure to actively hide things from me by deleting texts and trickle-truthing. I reminded her my boundaries and what I told her about them in the beginning of the relationship. Author, update the story. It's 100% divorce now. I think I was looking to relax and validate my logic with that post. Love is there, but trust is broken. My heart told me to have an hope, but my logic told me to divorce. Logic won in the end. It has been over a week now, and I still do not get the full information about the affair. Yesterday night and this morning, after the post, I came to learn new information about the affair. I am still not sure if it's the full extent. To clarify the emotional affair part, they texted, sent photos to each other, and there were I love yous involved. If it's not cheating, I do not know what it is. Whatever, I still do not know the full truth, and she refuses disclosing who exactly this AP is. My trust level for her is so low that she could say ski is blue, and I would doubt it. This relationship is just over, dead. I will go ahead with the divorce as soon as possible so I can process my feelings alone after she leaves. Some people told me I would not be able to find anyone at 33 as a male. This is the last thing I worry about after divorce. First thing is to get over the relationship and put myself together better than ever. I am planning starting individual therapy right after I sort things out. I can date after that easily. Hope seeing you with a happy divorce update and in a better mood. What I think about this story? So I'm old. These things are odd to me. She's having an emotional affair. Are we calling sending nudes an emotional affair? Because for me, that's plain old cheating and betrayal. And we already know it got physical by the wife's reaction. Cheating is a boundary I explained in the beginning of the relationship. Cheating doesn't have to be previously stated as a boundary. No one is good being cheated on. Maybe my wife is having a midlife crisis. What the 30s are an amazing time. Your brain is developed and you've learned about yourself and others. You really know that you're in control of your life with decades of goodness to come. Are you planning on dying really early? He's too old to find love again at 33. What? That's ridiculous. User comment this story. I'm annoyed so many busybodies told him he was being too hasty. Sometimes decisions are easy. This guy had told her from the beginning of the relationship that cheating was a red line for him, and she crossed it. That alone is all that's needed to justify his decision. But the real problem is the trickle-truth dump. Nothing permanently destroys any possibility of trust in a marriage like playing the I'm only going to confess to the bare minimum that I know they know and see if I can get away with it game. He was never going to be able to trust her ever again, because now he knows that not only will she not tell him if there's a problem, but he also knows that even if he finds evidence of a problem, she will lie to his face about any aspect of it she thinks she can get away with. The marriage was over the instant she got caught, and decided to try to keep lying. I hope you liked the stories in the first part. The following stories will be in the second part today. Jimmy was with you. See you in the next part. I love you all.